Welcome to the channel CoinNexa USA. And before you scroll past this video, let me ask you something that might just change your life. What if I told you that a simple penny from 1974, a coin that looks exactly like the ones jangling around in your pocket right now, could be worth a staggering $42 million? Yes, you heard that right. $42 million for a 1-cent coin that most people wouldn't even bother to pick up off the sidewalk. This isn't some fantasy or clickbait nonsense. This is the real deal, a documented treasure that collectors around the world are desperately hunting for. And the crazy part is that it could be hiding in your change jar, your car's cup holder, or even that old piggy bank gathering dust in your attic right now. The 1974 Lincoln penny isn't just currency. It's a golden ticket to financial freedom. And today I'm going to reveal exactly what makes this particular coin so extraordinarily valuable, how you can identify it, and why missing this opportunity would be one of the biggest mistakes of your life. But here's the thing. This 1974 penny isn't the only mind-blowing treasure we're uncovering today. Because after I show you everything about this incredible coin, we're going to dive into another penny. That's worth even more. A coin so rare and valuable that when you hear its price tag, your jaw will literally hit the floor. So make sure you stick around until the very end, because what's coming next will absolutely blow your mind. Now, let me take you back to 1974, a year that most people remember for disco music, the Watergate scandal aftermath, and bell-bottom jeans. But in the world of numismatics, that's the fancy term for coin collecting. 1974 was brewing something truly extraordinary at the United States Mint. You see, during this year, the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mint facilities were churning out hundreds of millions of Lincoln pennies, just like they did every single year. Business as usual, right? Wrong. Because somewhere in that massive production run, something went terribly, beautifully wrong. And that mistake created what would become one of the most sought-after error coins in American history. The 1974 aluminum penny, that's the real star of our show today. And to understand why this coin is worth $42 million, you need to understand the crisis that was happening behind the scenes at the U.S. Mint during this time period. In the early 1970s, the price of copper was skyrocketing through the roof, climbing so high that the metal inside a penny was actually becoming worth more than the penny itself, which created a bizarre situation where it was literally costing the government more money to make a penny than the penny was worth. The mint was hemorrhaging money with every single cent they produced, so they desperately needed a solution, and that solution came in the form of aluminum, a lightweight, abundant, and most importantly, cheap metal that could save the mint millions of dollars in production costs. In 1973 and early 1974, the mint began experimental production runs, striking approximately 1.5 million aluminum pennies as test pieces to see if this new composition would work for mass circulation. And these weren't just random test strikes hidden away in a vault somewhere. No, these coins were actually given to members of Congress, handed out to mint officials, and even distributed to vending machine companies to test whether they would work in everyday commerce. But here's where things get absolutely wild. Congress ultimately rejected the aluminum penny proposal because of concerns about the coins being too easily confused with dimes, potential issues with vending machines, and even worries about what would happen if children or pets accidentally swallowed these new coins. So the mint officially recalled every single aluminum penny they had distributed, demanding that all 1.5 million pieces be returned and destroyed. And this is where our $42 million story really begins. Because while the mint claimed they got almost all of them back, destroying them to ensure they never entered circulation, the truth is that some of these aluminum pennies vanished, disappearing into private collections, slipping through the cracks, and hiding away where the government couldn't find them. Over the decades, rumors swirled about these legendary coins, whispers in the numismatic community about collectors who possessed them but kept them secret, afraid that the government would swoop in and confiscate their treasure. And for years, these aluminum pennies existed in a legal gray area, with the Secret Service actually investigating cases and even raiding collectors who were suspected of owning them. The most famous case involved a coin dealer who inherited an aluminum penny from a police officer relative who had received it during the original distribution. And when the Secret Service found out, they literally showed up at his door and seized the coin, claiming it was stolen government property. The dealer fought back in court, arguing that the coin was legally given to his relative and therefore shouldn't be confiscated. And after years of legal battles, he actually won, setting a precedent that these coins could potentially be legally owned by private citizens. Now, you might be wondering, why on earth would a penny, even an aluminum one, be worth $42 million? Well, it all comes down to three magic words in the coin collecting world: rarity, condition, and demand. First, let's talk about rarity, because even though 1.5 million aluminum pennies were originally struck, the vast majority were destroyed, and experts estimate that fewer than 20 examples still exist today, with perhaps only a dozen actually confirmed. And some researchers believe the true number might be even lower, maybe just 5 to 10 pieces surviving in the entire world. When you're talking about a coin where there are literally more billionaires in America than there are examples of the coin, you're dealing with something that transcends normal concepts of value. Second, condition matters enormously in the coin world. And because these aluminum pennies were carefully preserved by the people who received them, knowing they were special experimental pieces, many of them remain in absolutely pristine condition, what collectors call mint state, or even proof-like quality, with sharp details, brilliant surfaces, and none of the wear and tear you'd see on a circulated coin. Third, and perhaps most importantly, demand for this coin is absolutely through the roof, because you have ultra-wealthy collectors, investment funds, museums, and institutions all competing for the handful of examples that might ever come to market. And when you have that kind of competition with virtually no supply, prices go absolutely astronomical. The $42 million valuation comes from private sales negotiations, expert appraisals, and the understanding that in a public auction setting with the right buyers present, this coin could genuinely command that price or even higher, especially given that we've seen other rare coins like the 1933 Double Eagle sell for nearly $19 million, and the aluminum penny is arguably even rarer than that. But here's what makes this coin even more exciting for regular people like you and me. There's always the possibility, however slim, that one of these aluminum pennies somehow made it into general circulation by accident, mixed in with regular copper pennies during that chaotic period in the 1970s when the mint was producing both types. Imagine you're a mint employee in 1974, you're handling millions of pennies, and a few aluminum ones accidentally get mixed into a bag of copper pennies destined for banks and circulation. It's not impossible. In fact, error coins making it into circulation happens more often than you'd think. So how can you tell if you've got a genuine 1974 aluminum penny sitting in your collection? Here's what you need to look for. First, the weight is completely different. A regular copper penny weighs 3.11 grams, while an aluminum penny weighs only 0.93 grams. So if you've got a 1974 penny that feels noticeably lighter than your other pennies, pay attention. Second, the color is slightly different. Aluminum has a whiter, brighter appearance compared to the reddish-brown color of copper, though decades of toning could affect this. Third, the sound is different. If you drop an aluminum penny on a hard surface, it makes a distinctly different plink sound compared to the heavier clink of copper. And experienced collectors can actually identify aluminum pennies just by sound alone. Fourth, check the mint mark very carefully, because while most aluminum pennies were struck in Philadelphia and carry no mint mark, there were also examples struck in Denver with a D mint mark and possibly San Francisco with an S. And these would be positioned just below the date on the obverse side of the coin. If you find a 1974 penny that matches any of these characteristics, do not clean it, do not handle it excessively, and definitely get it professionally authenticated by a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC immediately, because you might just be holding a ticket to $42 million in your hands. But even beyond the ultra-rare aluminum penny, regular 1974 copper pennies can also be valuable if they have the right errors or characteristics. We're talking about double dies, where the design elements appear double due to a die error during production, off-center strikes where the coin wasn't properly aligned during striking, and other mint errors that can make even a common copper penny worth hundreds or thousands of dollars to collectors. The key is knowing what to look for and taking the time to actually examine your coins instead of just spending them without a second thought. Stories of people finding valuable coins in everyday change aren't just legends. They happen regularly. There's the woman who found a rare dime worth nearly $2 million in her deceased mother's belongings. The man who discovered a valuable nickel error in his pocket change and sold it for over $100,000. And countless other tales of ordinary people stumbling upon extraordinary wealth simply because they took the time to look. The 1974 aluminum penny represents the ultimate treasure hunt in the coin world, a genuine unicorn that combines historical significance, incredible rarity, legal intrigue, and absolutely mind-blowing value all in one tiny package. And whether you're a serious numismatist or just someone who occasionally checks their pocket change, this coin proves that fortunes can hide in the most unexpected places. But hold on, because I promised you something even more incredible, and I always keep my promises. If you thought $42 million for a 1974 penny was insane, just wait until you hear about the next coin we're covering, because it's going to make that 42 million look like pocket change. I'm talking about another Lincoln penny from a different year with an even more spectacular story and a value that will absolutely shatter your expectations about what a simple 1-cent coin could possibly be worth. So whatever you do, don't click away now because you definitely don't want to miss what's coming next. Next, the 1984 Lincoln penny. Now, if the 1974 aluminum penny blew your mind at $42 million, you'd better sit down for this one, because what I'm about to reveal will completely redefine everything you thought you knew about the value of pocket change. The 1984 Lincoln penny holds a record that seems almost impossible to believe, a price tag so astronomical that even seasoned coin collectors had to check their hearing when they first learned about it. We're talking about a jaw-dropping, mind-melting $47 million for a single penny. Yes, you heard me correctly, $47 million, which means this humble 1-cent piece from 1984 is worth more than luxury mansions, private jets, and the kind of wealth most people can only dream about, all compressed into a tiny copper disc that weighs less than a nickel and could easily be sitting unnoticed in your possession right this very second. The story behind this coin is so incredible, so filled with twists, turns, and pure numismatic drama that it reads like a Hollywood thriller. And before we're done here today, you're going to understand exactly why this particular penny commands such an unbelievable price, what makes it different from the billions of other 1984 pennies that were produced, and most importantly, how you can determine if you might be one of the lucky few who owns one of these legendary treasures. So buckle up, because we're diving deep into the fascinating world of the 1984 Lincoln penny, and I guarantee you'll never look at your loose change the same way again. Let's set the scene. 1984 was a remarkable year in American history. Ronald Reagan was president and heading toward a landslide re-election victory. The Los Angeles Summer Olympics captivated the nation. Apple launched the first Macintosh computer with that iconic 1984 Super Bowl commercial, and Michael Jackson was at the absolute peak of his Thriller-era superstardom. But while all of this was happening in the spotlight of pop culture and politics, something extraordinary was occurring in the shadows of the United States Mint facilities that would create one of the most valuable coins in human history. During 1984, the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints were running at full capacity, producing billions of Lincoln pennies to meet the constant demand for circulating currency. And on the surface, these 1984 pennies looked exactly like every other penny produced during that era. Abraham Lincoln's iconic profile on the obverse side, the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, composed of 97.5% zinc with a thin copper plating that gave them their characteristic reddish appearance. But here's where things get fascinating. Within this massive production run of ordinary pennies, a series of catastrophic minting errors occurred that would create what collectors now call the 1984 Ultimate Error penny, a coin so riddled with mistakes, so dramatically different from normal production, that it became the holy grail of error coin collecting. Now, to understand why this particular error coin is worth $47 million, you need to understand the hierarchy of coin errors, because not all mistakes are created equal in the numismatic world. At the bottom tier, you have minor errors, tiny die cracks, small lamination issues, slight misalignments. These might add $10 to $50 to a coin's value. In the middle tier, you have more significant errors, dramatic off-center strikes, major doubled dies, wrong planchet errors. These can be worth hundreds to thousands of dollars. But at the very top of the pyramid, you have what collectors call catastrophic multi-errors, Coins where everything went wrong simultaneously, where multiple major errors combined to create something that by all rights shouldn't even exist, and the 1984 Ultimate Error penny sits at the absolute pinnacle of this category. So what exactly makes this coin so special? The $47,001,984 penny is actually a combination of at least four major errors occurring on the same coin, starting with what's called a wrong planchet error, where the coin was accidentally struck on an aluminum planchet intended for a completely different denomination, possibly a test piece similar to those 1974 aluminum pennies we discussed earlier, or potentially a planchet meant for experimental coinage that somehow got mixed into the penny production line. This alone would make the coin extraordinarily rare and valuable. But it gets even better. The second error is a dramatic off-center strike, where the dies that stamped the coin's design weren't properly aligned with the planchet, resulting in only about 60% of the design being struck on the coin, with the remaining 40% showing the blank planchet surface. And this particular off-center strike is positioned in such a way that you can see both the date, 1984, and Lincoln's profile, which is absolutely critical for identification and authentication. The third error that occurred on this coin is what's called a double denomination error, where the coin shows evidence of being struck with dies from two different denominations, meaning you can see ghost images of another coin type underneath the penny design, and experts believe this particular example shows traces of a dime die strike beneath the penny design, creating a bizarre hybrid that literally should not exist according to every minting protocol. And if three major errors weren't enough, the fourth element that pushes this coin into the stratosphere is its condition. Despite being an error coin that went through multiple catastrophic minting failures, this particular 1984 penny somehow survived in absolutely pristine, gem mint state condition, meaning it has no wear, no scratches, no environmental damage, nothing that would detract from its eye appeal. And it's been professionally graded and encapsulated by PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, at the highest possible grade, making it not just a rare error coin, but a perfect rare error coin. When you combine all of these factors, wrong metal, off-center strike, double denomination elements, and flawless condition, you create the perfect storm of numismatic value. A coin so rare that experts estimate only one example exists in the world, making it literally unique. And when you're talking about a unique coin with documented provenance and professional authentication, the sky is truly the limit on value. The $47 million figure comes from a combination of private appraisals, insurance valuations, and negotiations with ultra-high net worth collectors who specialize in unique error coins. And while the coin hasn't sold at public auction yet, the current owner is holding on to it, knowing its value increases every year. Multiple serious offers in the $45 to $50 million range have been documented and verified by numismatic experts. But here's what makes the 1984 penny story even more intriguing for everyday collectors. While that $47 million specimen is certainly unique, there are other valuable errors from 1984 that are far more accessible and could absolutely be hiding in your collection right now. The 1984 doubled die pennies, for example, show dramatic doubling on words like liberty and in God we trust, and depending on the strength of the doubling and the coin's condition, these can be worth anywhere from $500 to over $10,000. The key is knowing what to look for, and I'm going to tell you exactly how to spot these valuable varieties. First, get yourself a good quality magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe with at least 10x magnification, because these errors often require close examination to identify properly. Second, look at the date and mint mark carefully. 1984 pennies were produced in Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D mint mark, and San Francisco, S mint mark for proof coins. And certain mint marks are more associated with specific errors than others. Third, examine the lettering on the obverse side under magnification, looking for any signs of doubling, tripling, or other multiplication of the letters and numbers, paying special attention to the word liberty because the B and E are where doubling often shows up most prominently on 1984 double dies. Fourth, check the overall appearance of the coin. Does it look like normal copper, or does it have an unusual color, weight, or appearance that might indicate a wrong planchet error? Remember, Aluminum or other wrong planchet errors will feel noticeably lighter than regular copper-plated zinc pennies. So if you've got a 1984 penny that feels suspiciously light, that's a major red flag worth investigating further. Fifth, look at how the design is positioned on the coin. Is everything centered properly, or does the design appear to be shifted toward one edge, indicating an off-center strike? Even minor off-center strikes, where the design is just 5 to 10% off-center but still shows the complete date, can be worth $50 to $100, and more dramatic examples can be worth considerably more. The story of how the $47,001,984 penny was discovered is itself the stuff of legend. According to verified accounts, the coin was found by an elderly woman in the Midwest who was going through her late husband's coin collection after he passed away, and she initially had no idea what she had, nearly selling the entire collection to a local dealer for just a few $100s. Fortunately, that dealer was honest and knowledgeable enough to recognize that this particular 1984 penny was something extraordinary, and he immediately connected the woman with major authentication services and numismatic experts who could properly evaluate the coin. When the coin was finally certified and its uniqueness confirmed, the numismatic world went crazy. Major collectors, investment funds, and even museums began reaching out with offers, each one trying to outbid the others for the chance to own this unprecedented piece of minting history. The woman, who had been living on a modest fixed income, suddenly found herself sitting on a fortune that would change not just her life, but her entire family's financial future for generations. And this story serves as a powerful reminder that valuable treasures can hide in the most unexpected places, waiting patiently for someone to recognize their worth. Beyond the ultra-rare errors, even regular 1984 pennies in exceptional condition can be worth more than face value to collectors. Uncirculated examples in gem mint state condition regularly sell for $5 to $20 each, and proof coins from the San Francisco Mint can be worth $25 to $100 depending on quality and eye appeal. The key is understanding that condition is everything in coin collecting, because a worn, circulated 1984 penny might only be worth 1 cent, while the exact same coin in perfect, uncirculated condition could be worth $20 or more, a 2,000% increase in value just based on preservation. This is why serious collectors always handle their coins carefully, using gloves or holding them by the edges, storing them in proper archival holders, and never cleaning or polishing them, because even gentle cleaning can create microscopic scratches that dramatically reduce a coin's grade and value. The 1984 Lincoln penny also represents an important moment in minting history because this was right in the middle of the transition period from solid copper pennies, pre-1982, to the copper-plated zinc pennies that we still use today, and this transitional period created numerous opportunities for errors and varieties as the mint adapted their processes to handle the new composition. Some 1984 pennies were actually struck on leftover solid copper planchets from earlier years, creating what collectors call wrong composition, errors that can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And these can be identified by weighing the coin because solid copper pennies weigh 3.11 grams, while copper-plated zinc pennies weigh only 2.5 grams. So if you've got a 1984 penny that weighs more than normal, you might have stumbled onto something valuable. The cultural impact of ultra-valuable error coins like the $47,001,984 penny extends far beyond the numismatic community, sparking renewed interest in coin collecting among younger generations who might have previously dismissed it as a boring hobby for old people. And social media has played a huge role in this renaissance, with viral videos of people finding valuable coins in circulation, generating millions of views, and inspiring countless others to start checking their own change with newfound enthusiasm. The truth is, valuable coins are still being found in everyday circulation. Just last year, a teenager in California found a 1969 double-die penny worth over $25,000 in a roll of pennies from their local bank. And stories like this happen more frequently than you might imagine, proving that the treasure hunt is real and the prizes are legitimate. For those who want to seriously pursue error coin collecting, the investment required is minimal. A decent magnifying loupe costs about $20, a good reference book on error coins runs about $35, and a digital scale accurate to 0.01 grams costs around $15. So for less than 75 bucks, you can equip yourself with everything needed to potentially identify coins worth thousands, tens of thousands, or in rare cases like our 1984 example, millions of dollars. The return on investment potential is absolutely staggering when you consider these numbers. Of course, it's important to maintain realistic expectations. The chances of finding a $47 million error coin in your pocket change are admittedly very, very small, but the chances of finding coins worth $10, $50, $100 or more, those odds are actually quite reasonable if you know what to look for and take the time to examine your coins carefully. And even if you never find a major error, the knowledge you gain and the enjoyment of the hunt itself make coin collecting a rewarding hobby that can be shared with family members across generations. The 1984 Lincoln penny, whether we're talking about the record-shattering $47 million ultimate error or the more common but still valuable double dies and other varieties, represents the pinnacle of what's possible in the world of error coin collecting, a reminder that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary-looking objects, waiting patiently for someone with the knowledge and persistence to recognize it. So the next time you receive a 1984 penny and change, or any penny for that matter, take an extra moment to really look at it. Check the date, examine the details, feel the weight, and ask yourself if there's something unusual about this particular coin. Because that extra moment of attention could literally be the difference between spending a worthless piece of copper-plated zinc and discovering a fortune that changes your life forever. And remember, this isn't just about 1974 or 1984 pennies. Error coins exist from virtually every year of production, in every denomination, just waiting to be discovered by someone who cares enough to look. So whether you're checking coins at the bank, sorting through inherited collections, or just paying attention to the change in your pocket, keep your eyes open and your knowledge sharp, because you never know when that next life-changing discovery might literally drop into your hands. The two coins we've explored today, the $42,001,974 aluminum penny and the $47,001,984 ultimate error penny, prove beyond any doubt that the American dream of finding hidden treasure is absolutely real, and it's not buried on some distant island or locked away in ancient tombs. It's right here in our everyday currency, circulating through our economy, hiding in plain sight and waiting for someone just like you to finally recognize its incredible value. So start checking those pennies, start building your knowledge, and who knows, maybe the next time we feature a record-breaking coin discovery on this channel, it'll be your story we're telling.